Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I am your host, Melissa. Today I have Jeff Wilhelm with me. He's the CEO here at Infused Innovations. And to say Jeff is passionate while talking about technology and business is an absolute understatement. So I'm just excited to have him here on the podcast with me today. How are you, Jeff?
Hey, Melissa, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, of course. Always happy to have you. So, in the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of changes to the workplace, and I know that you've seen this firsthand. So, first, we've seen that there was a shift in the way that we were working. So, a lot of companies were forced into this, what you could call a trial run of remote or hybrid work during COVID. And because of that, I think a lot of companies got to see the benefits of that business and that framework of work. But then also, consequently, we've seen a huge spike in data breaches and leaks from many companies that have had to completely move online. And maybe they just didn't have the tools or the time to research how to do that properly. And last, we've seen this explosion of companies who are seeking out best practices and tools for online collaboration as their employees are online and they want to have that seamless workflow and unified communication all in one system. And you and I both know that our secure, intelligent workplace solves all of these issues. So today we're going to talk about that. And given everything I've just talked about, first, before we hop into what the secure, intelligent workplace is, I really want to hear from your perspective as someone who's been involved in the tech industry at a really high level for a long time. I want to hear your perspective on everything that's shifted and changed in the workplace in the last couple of years.
Sure. So the changes over the last 5, 10, even 20 years actually informed the creation of what you mentioned, secure, intelligent workplace. It was a bit, I don't want to say prescient, but it was, a couple years before COVID that we sort of stepped back and said, man, work-life balance has been sort of transforming a bit over the years. Obviously, there's a whole just like host of philosophical conversation around that. Data is becoming obviously more and more important, a real source of truth for a lot of organizations. And of course, security, like you mentioned, is becoming a real, something that a lot of organizations just really have to reconcile with and not treat as an afterthought. At the same time, collaboration is becoming more important. Productivity, measuring outcomes is really important as opposed to, sort of work product, like how many hours am I sitting at the keyboard, right? That kind of stuff. So it's funny in a way because I started my career sort of on the data and analytics side of the space. As cloud started to become more important, 5, 10 years ago, that became something I really focused on quite a bit. And of course, security. So a couple of years ago, and again, pre-COVID, we started saying, how do we, bring to bear all these changes that we're seeing in the industry into something that's sort of packaged in a way that allows many different types of organizations to take advantage of. And that was the genesis of Secure Intelligent Workplace. And the real, benefits of Secure Intelligent Workplace were, how do we support flexibility, work from anywhere, right? A lot of businesses, even before COVID, were sort of reconciling with that fact of, am I going to find the very best talent within, 20 miles of my, physical office in the city or town, or should I be casting a wider net? At the same time, security, as you mentioned, just critically important, not just security to support that sort of flexibility I mentioned a second ago, but security to just sort of deal with data, devices, identities, all that kind of stuff that's really just important to understanding your business. Data as a source of truth, as I mentioned, and frankly, the progression of data to information and then information into intelligence, and then the reporting, measurements, dashboards, KPIs, the ability to use that data to make real business decisions that impact the growth of the business and the improvement of staff and enjoyment and all those sorts of things.
Can you just tell me generally what the secure, intelligent workplace is for someone who, just from a general stance, who might not understand, like, what is this? Is this a tool? Is it a product? What is this?
Sure. Yeah. So we'll just take it word by word. Secure, intelligent workplace. So we'll start with secure. So when we say secure, we're talking about the security of a client or the security of a business. And that falls into a couple of, sort of key categories, right? You've got identity as a really strong foundation. The identity of a user, strongly authenticated, is a real foundation for a secure organization. Because if you don't know that the user is who they say they are, how do you apply policies in real time? How do you control access to information, especially given the fact that that user could be in an office one moment, a home office another moment, a coffee shop, or their car on a phone, right? So it really, security is just so critically important. So, identity security being a major piece of that. Of course, the device security. What device are they coming in from? Is it a laptop? Is it a cell phone, tablet, a PC, whatever it might be? Data security, right? And that doesn't just mean like financial data or sensitive C-suite, type data, but any kind of data that could be controlled or should have some controls around it. Even things like, I don't want someone outside my organization to be able to read this or forward it or print it or whatever it might be. And then you get into things that are a little bit more, I think, well understood, things that used to be just sort of boiled down to a firewall and antivirus, right? And that's things like threat detection, threat response, maybe 24/7 SOC, right? Security Operations Center, somebody keeping eyes on glass to make sure that you run your business and somebody else is making sure that the security is taken care of. So the first one, obviously, was security. We'll go to intelligent. So when we say intelligence, we're talking about elements of data, but also the application of data. So data could be, data about your customers, KPIs about your business, intelligence more generally about the market space that you're in, but also could go into things around automation or analytics, right? So the Power Platform on Microsoft's a great example of that. It democratizes the ability for the staff to build their own workflows and automations, and also sort of democratizes their access to data as a source of truth, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. And then when we say workplace, we're really talking about modern work, but the ability for there to be flexibility, productivity being just so key, to the importance of a flexible work organization, cloud adoption, collaboration. We mentioned work from anywhere, obviously, and having staff and sort of pretty much anywhere as long as they can get access to a good internet connection. But that's secure, intelligent workplace. And, you asked, is it a product or is it a service? It's a service, but it's built on top of industry-leading products. So, we've taken sort of the industry-leading, Gartner Magic Quadrant products, from Microsoft, for example, wrapped intellectual property that we've developed over the years, which helps streamline things like end-user adoption and just sort of the implementation process of it, built standard operating procedures around it, and then packaged ongoing support and maintenance. And I mentioned some of the 24/7 monitoring, and then a cycle of continuous evaluation and improvement. So you take all of these products and all of the intellectual property we've developed, and that becomes the offering, Secure Intelligent Workplace, which is a service. And, there are a lot of products in the industry. Just to touch on this really, really briefly, I mean, you can't, open a trade magazine or go to a web page these days without seeing everybody talking about how amazing their XDR solution is, right? And there's a lot of really good tools out there, but in my opinion, XDR, which stands for cross-domain detection and response, is all about getting the most comprehensive picture across all of the domains that an organization might operate in, right? Cloud, collaboration, communication, devices, data, identities, all of these different things, they're all generating telemetry, and all of the telemetry should be used to generate the most comprehensive risk model of an organization in real time. So by using tools from Microsoft, for example, right, Gartner Magic Quadrant tools supported by the largest company in the world, we're not picking whoever might have the sort of special sauce tool of the tool du jour, so to speak. We're picking comprehensive tools from a company that's supporting them, that has the absolute best, most exceptional visibility to the metrics that matter, and using those as the foundation to package with all the other things that I mentioned. And that becomes Secure Intelligent Workplace.
Yeah, and that's great. That kind of leads into what I was going to ask you next was, is each part, obviously the solution, this package is built on these three parts, right? The security, the intelligence, and the workplace piece. Are all of those, obviously we know that workplace piece is important, but is the security and the intelligence as important as well? And why does it all need to be in this one package?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is an example where 1 + 1 + 1 equals 5, right? Yes, of course, every organization needs to treat security as part of the conversation from the very beginning. It should be built in, not bolted on at the end. And we see a lot of organizations, including some peers, in sort of the solution provider and managed solution side of the space, treating security a bit as an afterthought. When we say secure, intelligent workplace, security is number one in that sentence for a reason. So we say, yes, each piece is critically important. It's a situation where if you don't do security right, how do you secure the data, right? And if you don't have security in data, how do you really enforce modern work, or how do you have that workplace be productive and collaborative, knowing that people could be anywhere? So yeah, I do see it as sort of there are benefits to doing each of the individual pieces, of course, right? And I would never tell an organization, don't do security or forget about data, or yeah, collaboration's not that important. But to your point, I think there's a benefit to doing all three and treating them as a holistic corporate vision and roadmap, as opposed to just three pieces that can sort of be done in any order, right? I think doing security first sort of informs the other two.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that security is the first piece of it. I mean, it is so important, and we do see some other providers who just security is the last priority, and unfortunately, their clients are going to be the ones getting breached. Does an organization need to have each of these three pieces? It sounds like you're saying that they are, but I know that some organizations try to get by with maybe two or one of them. Maybe they leave out the security piece. And I guess a follow-up question to that too is that, does Infused Innovations help their clients kind of walk through how to integrate each of these pieces into their organization to be successful, or are they on their own figuring that piece out?
Yeah, I like this question because, one of the things that we've always talked about, and Erica here really pushes this forward with the team, is around, customer experience, making sure it's a really positive engagement model that we're working with clients on. We know that every customer is a little bit different industries, different verticals, different size organizations, for-profit, nonprofit. We get that, right? And that is one of the things that is most fun for me, is sort of talking to the CEOs or the executive directors or whatever it might be of these different types of organizations, because they're all at different stages of their digital transformation journey. Some of them don't know anything about technology. Some of them have full-blown IT departments. Some fall somewhere in the middle. Some of them might have IT departments that are, really good at the on-premise stuff, but just don't really know what to do and what order on the cloud side. Others are just really uncertain about what to do on the security side. So we do recognize that every organization is a little bit different, and that's a positive, not a negative, right? So we have different engagement models for different types of organizations. So I'll touch on them really briefly. So secure, intelligent workplace, we've talked about quite a bit. And secure, intelligent workplace is very much that holistic journey. It's for organizations that really want to stay relevant and be evolving within their space and leading their market segments and all that kind of stuff. And that's great. Other organizations, they are already started down elements of that journey, right? So they may not need all the security stuff done. They might have spent the last year working on, bolstering their security. Other organizations have absolutely nobody on staff that knows anything about security, and they're super concerned about how security will impact productivity of their staff, which is a completely reasonable position to take. So we like to talk about different engagement models. One might be, for one type of organization, might be starting with accelerators. Accelerators are really quick time to value, great for organizations that have some technical know-how on staff, or maybe have started down some of these journeys. And all three of the buckets we talked about before, secure, intelligent workplace, all three of those have accelerators that are a little bit more, bite-sized, quicker execution, quicker delivery, that we could deliver into organizations that maybe just need, one or two pieces of the puzzle that might have already solved, one or two pieces of the puzzle. Still, though, there are other organizations that really don't even know where they want to go. We run workshops. I think Phil did a really good podcast with you earlier in the year around art of the possible. And that's another area where, an organization might just say, we just don't know. Our industry is changing rapidly. we know we need to change. We don't really know what we should do in what order and where we're going and all that. And we run workshops with those organizations to try and understand their current state and figure out where they want to go and what works for their industry or their staff or their client base or whatever it might be. Secure Intelligent Workplace obviously falls sort of in the middle. And then, of course, we have our advisory services. Those are similar in a way to some of what we do with the Art of the Possible engagements, but it could be much longer term advisory where we're going in, sitting side by side with the C-suite or on behalf of the board of directors or whatever it might be, and essentially being their outsourced CTO or CIO or CISO or whatever it might be, and really helping them in real time over the course of 12 months, just craft that journey that is very customized to their own organization. So yes, the short, I guess, answer to your question is we work with organizations of all sizes, all types, all verticals, and in all stages of their journey. And we have different solutions customized for each of them.
The next question was going to be, how does Infused work with companies that have different needs? And it sounds like Infused sets up that workshop to make sure that companies are going to be set up for success and building a roadmap with them.
Yeah, absolutely. So customers, and I mean, let's be honest, right? Some customers really want that high touch, highly interactive, expert on call type engagement, side by side with the CEO helping chart the future. Other customers are more tactical, and that's okay, right? Of course, we would love to be absolutely strategic with every customer of ours, but customers are different and different stages of their journey with different staffs and different comfort levels, and some of them have their own vision sort of already charted out, and they just need help executing on them. So yes, absolutely, we try to work with customers and meet them where they are, right? Work with them in a way that makes them happy and comfortable, but that moves them forward. The right customer for us is a organization that is sort of progressively minded and understanding of what digital transformation can mean to them. I said to Phil once that if we have to explain why we need to do digital transformation for an organization, that might not be the right organization for us to be working with. And, it was a little bit tongue in cheek, but I think the truth of it is that the best CEO for us to work with, or the best board for us to work with, or the best, leadership team for us to work with is an organization that knows that there's opportunity that they can embrace by doing things better, smarter, faster, whatever it might be. And they want somebody to help them and guide them on that journey. And we'd love to be that partner.
I heard that somewhere along the line, and I really liked that. I think it's important that it's a partnership, right? That no one's pulling teeth and that everyone's on the same page. You're going to get the best solution, the best progress out of that. We've been talking a lot about, different services and tools and things that Infused Innovations offers, but we really are focusing on that secure, intelligent workplace and how incredible of a tool it is and a service for organizations. Can you give me just a brief client story on how their organization has benefited from secure, intelligent workplace?
Sure. Yeah, there are so many of them. I mean, really, and I just love each of them because they're all a little bit different. It would be easy for me to pick, a really technology-centric organization and tell you a story about just how amazing it is that they didn't just survive COVID, but really thrive during COVID because of our great work. And, it'll sound like I'm patting ourselves on the back a little bit there, but I will actually pick one that's more on the human services and healthcare side of the space, an organization that didn't have a lot of technology people on staff. They were just trying, they're a national nonprofit. They're just trying to help solve real problems for real people. And, this is an organization that I've been working with, and I'm passionate about their mission and their goals. So it didn't always feel like work. It kind of felt like just, helping out. And that's sometimes some of the best ones when you can really start to understand where the customer's going and what they're doing and how to, be a real partner in it, like you mentioned a minute ago. But this is an organization that's they survive off of donor dollars and they try to help really just solve real problems. I'm trying not to be too specific here for obvious reason, but when I first started working with them, I remember they were on, G Suite, right? So, Google Docs, Google Drive, Gmail, Google Calendar. And there were some productivity challenges related to that. How does Outlook integrate with that, for example? Or, how do I make sure that my security around sharing is appropriate. And the folks at the organization were, running Windows generally on their machines. So there was also a little bit of that integration gap, and, places where Microsoft 365 clearly would benefit the organization. But, also, again, like I mentioned, not a very technically savvy organization. They were solving real human problems, not technology problems. So that was the type of organization where charting the journey, the order of operations, what that migration looked like from, for example, Google's, Workspace, G Suite to Microsoft 365, moving files from sort of an on-premise NAS type environment where users had to VPN in to access data and all that kind of stuff, into a cloud-native, cloud-first environment leveraging Microsoft Teams. Obviously, security, given the type of data they were working with, was critically important. So that became a real sort of starting point for that organization, making sure there was MFA enrollment, multi-factor authentication enrollment, making sure we implemented conditional access where appropriate, ensuring that, structural elements around how Microsoft Teams was being used was a big part of the conversation. And I could go on and on, but the point here is that understanding the organization, their mission, the staff, the technical know-how of the staff, and sort of using that as the foundation for what that journey and timeline of that journey would look like. And then along the way, sprinkling in sort of the benefits and the use cases and like little tips and the stories of how different staff members were embracing different things, just to make it a more accommodating, user acceptance driven, and frankly, positive story, right? Sort of internal marketing really was just, I think, key to the success. And that organization, thrived during COVID, even though I think a lot of organizations that were funded by donor dollars, really wouldn't. And yeah, just, again, one of many, many examples of places where Secure Intelligent Workplace helped an organization thrive in their own way.
I think I was on the initial call with this organization that you're talking about, actually. And wow, yeah, I am impressed with how far that they've come. And I mean, there's this sort of like proud dad moment I'm sure that you have for, your clients, where you're like, look how far we've come, look how far you've grown and your staff has grown. And I'm sure that's like a cool experience for you.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I've been consulting for 20 years. I've been in the corporate world. I've worked with nonprofits. I've worked with, Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 organizations, and, sort of starting Infused Innovations and then growing it to where it is today, and just seeing how many businesses we've helped and how the staff has just grown to really embrace that sort of customer first mindset, problem solving. It makes me really proud, and it makes me proud how many businesses we helped survive COVID and how many thrived because of the great work that we've done collaboratively with our customers. Yeah, thank you for calling that out, because I really think our staff does amazing work for our clients, and it makes me proud every day.
Well, we've got that on record now. So thank you for all of that. I wanted to ask you, closing out question, how would someone who's interested in something like the Secure Intelligent Workplace for their own organization, how would they go about partnering with us? What's the first step, and how does Infused Innovations help implement that into their organization over time? Is there a process for this? What's the initial first step?
Yeah, I mean, the first step is reach out, right? Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about where you are in your journey, what your organization values, what's important, where are you going, all that kind of stuff. I always like a conversation first. Obviously, any organization should want to feel comfortable with who they're partnering with. So have a conversation with us, decide for yourself what you think about, our organization and our values and what we hold dear and important. Read our blogs, watch some of our webinars, listen to some podcasts. We are real people trying to solve real problems. We are going to be transparent along the journey. We understand that you as an organization want to move your organization forward. Otherwise, you wouldn't be reaching out to ask us questions. So we want to give you answers that make you comfortable. But, there is absolutely a well-designed and well-built process for this, for any size organization in any stage of their growth, and we will guide you through it and work with you to customize it. And along the way, we will be there to just have those conversations with you and adjust as we go. But yeah, reach out, have a conversation, and let us know how we can help.
I think everyone on our team and our staff is just so human, real people, like you said, who are just so great at maintaining relationships and helping people solve those business problems. So I appreciate you coming on, Jeff, today. It means a lot that you were able to come on the podcast. And yeah, I can't wait to have you on again.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Melissa. It's always enjoyable to chat with you about these things.